As a CEO or boss of any kind, it's imperative to remember if you want to have any strength or teeth behind your name in terms of respect among the people that you're in charge of leading to greener pastures, then employee engagement among your employees is essential, and your active participation is a must. And it appears that CEOs and bosses across the country are receiving that message loud and clear. According to my friends over at the PRNewswire, it appears that CEOs believe the leading motivator for improving company culture among top CEOs across America seems to be focusing intently on increasing employee engagement and their participation in such an exercise. The data reveals that double the amount of CEOs who thought about this issue in 2021 are invested in the subject in 2023 and beyond, with at least 54% of CEOs making this a top priority, which is up from 26% just 3 years ago. The three top reasons for focusing on culture were rounded out by increasing innovation, diversity, and inclusion. This is good news for my dear friend Hope Lenor, who's a career consultant, international keynote speaker, and award-winning author who knows how to drive results. She helps career professionals engage career purpose and fulfillment. As a consultant, she helps people adjust to the right roles within an organization. For more than 10 years, she shared how to shift professional purpose and the results that can bring. She even wrote a book on the subject. She says her professional purpose is to help drive company innovation, productivity, employee fulfillment, and talent loyalty by helping employees define what their professional purpose is too. And she joined me this week to tell me more. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. If you're ready, I'll take a moment to welcome you to the program, and I'm super excited to talk to you about career diversification and aligning people to their appropriate roles. Great to see you, and happy Saturday to you.
Happy Saturday. I'm ready when you are.
Absolutely. So, Hope, I know that your professional claim to fame is helping organizations align their people to the correct roles to maximize productivity. So I'm wondering, my friend, if we can start our conversation by you telling me what makes you so fabulous and how you got to where you are today.
Absolutely. Thank you for the fabulousness. I love it. I'll take it. I'll receive it. So how I got here to where I am is just being aware of the energy and the excitement that I have about this type of work, and really evaluating to figure out, you know what, this is actually the purpose that I already have. I love it. I'm excited about it. I want to continue learning and helping people with it. And so that's how I got started. So my first book, actually, I wrote about that story about engaging my purpose. I don't like to say finding it because we all have it, right? So we all have it. It's just a matter of taking that and engaging it to get that same sense of fulfillment and excitement and thrill to help and serve others as well as take care of ourselves. And in that book, I talked about me. Hope, by the way, I was given that name before I was born. Mother was diagnosed with cancer while pregnant with me. And so my family came together in hopes that my mother and I would survive. I survived. My mother did not make it. However, it's always that question of, glad I'm here. Why am I here? What is it that I'm destined to give back? What is my purpose? And understanding, through my journey of engaging that, it's not just a purpose in a spiritual place, so to speak. It's something that we take everywhere, including in our jobs every day, which a lot of us spend most of our time there. So just knowing that, this is what it is. This is what excites me. And guess what? I've created this at the job that I was in. I would just create having these conversations with associates that really drove me. And finally, I said, you know what? Let me write a book about it, and let me do a business regarding that, to help more people and to really engage what it is that I have to give.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to thank you for sharing that a piece of your personal story, and hope it'll lead into my next question. Hope when I was born, I was born with what's called spastic quadriplegia cerebral palsy. Simply means that I don't have enough oxygen in my legs to walk normally. And at the age of 9, my friend, I was told by my physician who performed all of my operations for my disability that I wouldn't be able to walk for the duration of my life. And, at that point in my life, I had to begin writing my own resilience story because, Hope, I always say that I can either work for my circumstances or I can either work for my circumstances or have my circumstances work for me. And since you had a interesting childhood in that regard, I'm wondering how you view the concept of resilience as well.
You know what? That's interesting. So resilience to me, and I actually gave a speech about this. It's not about coming back to where you were. It's you're better than where you were. It's not just about, okay, I've overcome and now I'm here. It's no, I've become even better here and going further. So to me, resilience would be defined as coming back better than I was before. Whether that's stronger or smarter or more energetic or more purposeful or intentional about what I do, or physically stronger than what I was. That's what resilience means to me. And it's always, always evolving, and it's always getting better and better. So I see that as resilience.
Yeah, absolutely. And Hope, tell me, how do you view the concept of writing your own story of excellence or greatness? How do you view the whole concept of career and personal prosperity?
Yeah, that's a great question. And thank you, by the way, for sharing your story too. I love, let's have a conversation. So thank you for sharing your story. Writing my own story, I have control of that. And I'm sure that you've heard it, as most of us have heard. It's about not allowing society or someone else to write it for me, being that change maker or giving that twist or that thrill or that heroism to that story. That's what I want to do to make it more interesting. So I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do something better. I'm going to be stronger. I'm going to do it in the space, though it's not restrictive, in the space where I am purposed to do it, how I'm purposed to do it. So that identifies me in the story, but it also gives the reader, the listener, the viewer something that inspires them, something that they didn't know it would happen. That's even better. So that's a thrill for me. I'm excited to always write my story. And it's funny too, because sometimes even my friends will go, "We have no idea what you're going to do next." Or "I had no idea that you have MS." I always want to write the story in a way that encourages, inspires, and shows a stronger side of the character in that story, which is me. And I have the empowerment to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say that the only standard of expectations that we have to reach are our own, because if you don't pour a fundamental level of expectations for yourself, it's hard to meet anybody else's, isn't it?
Yes, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You know what, Kevin, I forgot to mention in my career, because you mentioned that before, and for all of us in our career, showing up, that's the first step, is showing up. And knowing that because we know who we are, we have the ability to show up in a way that's intentional and that we're purposed to do that in our careers. And whether that's what my goal is to help other professionals in their career, or what my purpose is to help other professionals in their career, then that's what it is. Maybe someone else's purpose is to teach. Maybe someone else's purpose is anything else. But doing that and doing it in a very fantastic way, to really show that you're a special character, one that people don't see as a traditional type of character.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you think is the key to aligning both productivity and fulfillment at work? What do you think is the key there?
Yeah. So the first thing is knowing who you are and knowing what your professional purpose is. So I wrote a white paper a couple of years ago because I wanted people to quickly see what's the connection. So what I found in that research is that people who engage, they know and they engage their professional purpose, are more likely to be innovative, loyal, more productive, all of those things, not to mention that they are healthier, meaning they're less likely, I should say, to have things like Alzheimer's or heart disease, because they know and they engage their professional purpose. So all of those things come back to knowing who you are and engaging who you are. That flows into what that is. Now, if an employer does everything they can to restrict who people are, then that means productivity is going to go down, innovation is going to go down, loyal to the company, that's going to go down, and of course the health will go down for individuals as well. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's dive into the concept of career innovation. Oftentimes in today's society, not everyone stays at the same job for 25 to 30 years. So, what do you think it means to also constantly sort of be innovative in your career approach? Or how do you think it's connected to employee fulfillment and productivity as well?
Yeah, yeah. So fulfillment comes with engaging in your purpose, knowing that I'm doing who I am. I'm engaging who I am, what I'm purposed to do, right? And it doesn't matter what role you have. So you may have, a title of diversity and inclusion one day. You may have a title of senior manager another day. You may have a title of project management, but that doesn't mean that you don't engage your professional purpose in all of those instances. And when you do that, you're going to be fulfilled. And when you know I'm engaged in my purpose, there's an excitement there or a rush there that makes you want to learn more, to do things better, to innovate, in other words, to increase the creativity or the efficiency or the error-freeness, made that word up, of the role. So you're always excited because that fulfillment, that excitement is a part of your purpose. And that's what you bring to the table because you've been given the opportunity to engage it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to talk to you about leveraging a diverse workforce. I work with businesses outside of hosting this podcast and helping them amplify the need to hire folks with disabilities and look at the hiring process from a more diverse lens, and obviously increasing morale once you hire folks that are have special needs. So talk to me about career diversification and the hiring process and the attitudes that employers should take to filling vacant positions. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah. First of all, I love the way you talk about after hiring to make sure the morale is still there, because I don't want employers to think that, okay, we're diverse and we've gone through diversity, equity, inclusion just because we've hired a diverse set of individual or professionals. What happens after they're there, that's important too. So it does start with where are we as an employer engaging in our communities? Are we just in silos, or only going to specific schools to recruit, or going to specific conferences to recruit, and not really widening that opportunity to very diverse sets of schools and conferences, or either, other places where professionals may be, whether those are other groups or associations where they may be, to recruit individuals. Because if you're saying, well, we put the opening there, but diverse candidates aren't coming, then that means you need to ask yourself the question, well, why? Why aren't they coming? Is it because they don't see us? Is it because they think we won't hire them? Because we don't have the capabilities or the accessibilities that they think they need, or they think we don't have those things? So that's another story to go into that. But then once we have that interview process, which should, in my opinion, Kevin, include a diverse set of interviewers or people that are actually looking at those resumes to challenge the status quo, to say, why didn't you choose that resume? Or why didn't you choose that person to interview, which is something that I do as well. And then having someone sit in that interview process and engage in that interview process. So not just a fly on the wall, this person like me is sitting there watching you. We're actually questioning and talking to the candidates as well to help those questions. And once they're here or in the company, it's now what? Are we still engaging in diversity, equity, and inclusion conversations to make sure that they're giving them the employees what they need? Not just saying, okay, we have this, or do you like it? No, it's what do you need? Or how is your day? Or what did you do today? Well, how can I make that better for you? So engaging in those conversations where it's a standard to have those conversations in the culture of the workforce.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to talk to you about career mobility and really optimizing the learning process during your career. One of the tenets that I live my life by hope is that life is a constant game of learning. So how do you think people can really maximize or optimize their career sort of mobility and create more learning experiences so that they can learn, grow, and share throughout the course of their career?
Yeah. There's so many creative things, I do believe in having those conversations where there's no strings attached, there's no expectations, so to speak, when you enter the room with associates and leaders to talk about what is it that you see that you want. So not just a survey where people are, okay, I got to check this box, check the box, or choose a number, but actually having those conversations regularly with everyone that works in that business. And then those are the things that are going to help you with, okay, this is what our employees need in order to move across, upward or downward, however they need to in the company, so that they perform better or they give more based on the skills that they have or the skills that they want to learn. So it is, to me, more of the conversations when things come out. I will say, some employees, and we have to appreciate that too, prefer to do things like resume surveys or check boxes, and that's okay. But allow those to have the opportunity, others to have opportunities to have the conversation or be listeners in those conversations, which could be a catalyst into saying, oh, but this would be a good idea if you gave us videos, or, oh, this would be a good idea to pay for us to take this course that's right here in our city, about technology or robotics or public speaking, whatever the case may be. But it's in those conversations when more actually comes out than it does when you're taking the resume.
Yeah, and Hope, what do you think it means to think beyond the resume when you're looking to diversify your workforce?
Yeah. So it can be difficult for huge companies with lots of applicants to have a staff to look through all of the resumes. That means, to me, if you are looking for candidates and you want to do something beyond what they may see in a resume, because usually they'll put in the resume what they see on the job description. That means building relationships in communities, number one, to see additional candidates and to hear additional candidates. It also means when you have the opportunity, scale a process where people can actually take a look at this resume, because something's going to pop out that usually doesn't. When you're looking at a resume, it may look standard, but you may see a word that's constantly repeated, or you may see a type or an idea that's in that resume that you hadn't considered in the job description. So that those are some things to think about as an employer. As an employee, show yourself. You do want a resume that relates to the job opening. You also want to show the employer who you are, because the best thing about a workplace is being able to show who you are. And if they hire you because of who you are, to me, that's a plus. I've shown them. They said, you know what? We want her here or him here or them here, because of what they said, not just because of how they matched the job description, but there was something else that was different from this person. That's a good feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Hope, it's my belief that the leaders of any kind, if they're charged with leading people, they really have to be relatable to the people that they're leading and really empower them to make decisions. So how important do you think it is for leaders to be relatable for the people that they're in charge of leading? What are your thoughts there?
That's a really cool question. So to me, it's good to be relatable. I think it's also amazing to have someone with an experience or have ideas that you can't quite relate to, right? So it could be, more of empathy, not I feel sorry for, but, and I can see the perspective of this person, though I haven't had this experience before, or a lot of the things that they're saying, I can't say that I actually relate to, but I'm curious. I'm curious to learn more about what they're saying or what their experiences are or their ideas. I think that is super important. So that goes back to the conversations or the workshops or just going out and meeting your people, to understand who they are, what they bring to the table, or what's different about them that's different from me or my experiences that I'm curious about. So I think that's good. I get kind of nervous about hiring and engaging people that I feel I can relate to, because it scares me, because if I can relate to them in the sense of we share the same experiences, I feel like I'll be stagnant. I won't go anywhere because we are the same, versus this person is different and I'm curious. I'm going to ask questions or put them in environments that stretch them or that reveal to me something that I didn't know or I haven't experienced before. Or I'm going to engage in conversations quarterly, monthly, that are about this specific type of experience that I haven't experienced before, to shed more light and bring to the table for perspective. Sorry, Kevin.
Yeah, no. I was just because it leads into my next question. Well, because I wanted to get your perspective on overall workplace equity. You know, equity and equality are two buzzwords that are thrown around in the human resources process. But how do you think we can improve workplace equity across the board, particularly for women and other marginalized groups? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, always assessing. So one of the things that I do a lot is I assess the environment. So that may be focus groups. That may be just walking and immersing myself in the culture and asking questions of individuals. It could be, and it is oftentimes observing. So the elevator's not working. This is a problem. Why is no one addressing this? Or the screen is blue and green. This is a problem. Why isn't someone addressing this? Or this person didn't talk in the focus group. May not be a problem. It is something to be curious about. Why? Is there something that's missing? Is there an opportunity or a gap as far as that's concerned in the workplace when we're thinking about equity? And yes, I'm glad you say difference between equity and equality. The other thing for HR and leaders, especially leaders of people, is to assess. Are women paid, for example, which is a long conversation, are they paid the same, more, or equitably this as anyone else? Let's take a look at that. Maybe it's every quarter, maybe it's every 6 months, maybe it's every year, maybe it's during bonus time, it's during salary increase time. Are we taking a look at that and saying, you know what? Everyone is being paid equitably based on their experience, based on their skills, based on the tools that we have given them, making sure that the tools are suitable for them and not just the same, but suitable for each individual. That's something definitely to take a look at. Of course,
Yeah.
too, Kevin, that means that everyone has to self-identify so that assumptions aren't being made. And that could be scary. And I shouldn't say everyone has to, but it's a good idea in many cases to say, yes, I'm Black. Yes, I'm a woman on my paperwork. Yes, I have a different ability on my paperwork, whatever the case may be. So that is something that HR, for example, can take a look at to say, based on how this person identifies, are we supporting them in an equitable space? If not, then we have the conversation about what we need to do about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, this will be my final question on workplace equity before we move on. Hope I'm curious because, you know, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics reported last year that the unemployment rate was at 3.5%, 3.5% for non-disabled workers, but it was at 7.2% for people with disabilities. So how do you think specifically we can break down the barriers to opportunities to work for folks with disabilities?
Yeah, it goes back to the conversation because we can make all kinds of assumptions. It isn't until we have those conversations where we're going, oh, I didn't know that, or oh, I didn't think about that. It may be the type of platform that we're using. It may be the type our physical facilities may have in place. It may be that people with different abilities don't feel a sense of community or a sense of belonging. It could be a number of things, that we just don't know about, or I just don't know about. But it's having those conversations that say, I didn't think of that. We don't have that here. Let's put this into place. Oh, closed captioning. I didn't think about that. Let's put that into place. And I think as people, not just employers or employees, but just as people explore outside of our own environment. If we love social media, join social groups that are different from ours to hear what the conversations are, to hear what the needs are. Talk to someone who may have a specialty in a particular space to help you understand what they are. Us taking initiative to learn about other people's abilities and experiences are important. So one thing that I was, for me, I made the effort to reach out to a friend who actually knows sign language. And I said, I'm talking all the time. I don't have closed captioning. Maybe I should do that. But I know that you do sign language. Can you talk to me? Can you do sign language during some of my events? Can you teach me? Can you do it on some of the videos that I'm doing? Can you tell me about the community? Can I be a part of this community? What can I say? What can I not say? So all of those things that we probably can't YouTube or Google, more so having personal conversations would be helpful. So as an employer, it may be going to the communities or organizations or places that are different from us to really listen in and have that talk.
Yeah, and Hope, tell me, how do you think employees and employers can really align their personal passion with their professional purpose, and how do you think it can all be connected to our personal development, both in life and at work? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I love this question because to me it's connected. So the hard part, I think, would be always saying that our purpose here spiritually outside of work or personally is this, and my professional purpose in work is this, which they are one and the same. So you take it wherever you go. I talk about, I'll use me for an example, but I've shared this with clients and others. For me, part of my story is, knowing and understanding that this is my spiritual purpose, which is prophecy, which people misunderstand that I'm going to go out and I'm going to tell you all about your life and what's going to happen in the next 3 months or whatever. But what that is giving instruction because you know something that you were admonished to give this person. And it's not something to be fearful of, like you're going to fall off the cliff tomorrow if you go that way. It's not that, but it is to give instruction, part of it. And so my career strength is individualism. And what that is the ability to know what a person's career strength is without having them take an assessment or any other type of test or having long conversations with them. I have the ability to do that. And I realize that's what it is. And prophecy, I know who I should go to and what I should say. And individualism, it's I identify this person and I know exactly what I should say. It's one and the same. Maybe that's a a crude example, but to me it is, and to me it's aligning those two and saying this is the same thing. I can do this professionally. I can do this personally. Whatever it is, it's who I am. It is my purpose. And I feel fulfilled when I engage it. I feel like this is what I have to give. This is exciting to me. This is what I'm passionate about right now. A lot of things. I do want to say, Kevin, too, that purpose and passion are two different things for me, right? Purpose is going to follow me. It is who I am. It's going to be wherever I go, though I may use it in different ways, in different spaces, different titles, different creatively. I may do that. Passion may come and go. I may be passionate about running this 5K today. Next year, I don't care. I'm not running it. I'm not training for it. I'm not doing it. So passion is something that could come and go and could absolutely change, but purpose does not. So I do want to interject that part.
Yeah, absolutely. And Hope, if I asked you to use one word to describe the motivation of today's workforce to give their fullest level of effort at work, how do you think you would describe today's workforce from a motivational standpoint? How motivated do you think people are to work in today's workforce?
Ooh, that's That's a tough one. I would say the word would be me. And maybe that's for everybody. Like, what's in it for me? Or what's in it for the variations of me? What's in it for my family? What's in it for my health? What's in it for the people around me? What's in it for me, my finances? This workforce, if we're thinking generationally, there are a lot of things that happened all at once for this generation, even for all of us, but especially for that generation going through the type of pandemic that we went through, going through diversity, equity, inclusion, traumas and questions. Um, it was all very different. And I do feel at this time, whether we're talking about Generation Z or younger, it is what motivates me? Like, what am I missing? Why can't I find that thing? Or am I where I am supposed to be? Or do I have the comfort of those around me? Right? Because in the pandemic, we're thinking about a time when we were just all together. Everybody was together. And for the generation before, they had their parents that were supporting. It's like, but if I go out, what happens to me? If I try that, what happens to me? Like, am I, there are a lot of me's involved when they're reflecting on themselves and what the world is supposed to be in their space. Once they, just like all of us, acknowledge that this is me, then that's going to be their motivator, a lot of their motivator for engaging in the workforce and finding the space that keeps them fulfilled, feeling safe, wanting to grow more, wanting to learn more, be more curious. Once they find that me, that's what's going to help them excel.
And do you think that is also correlated to motivating an unmotivated workforce?
Yeah, I do. I do. Because it all goes back to purpose, though. Because I know me, I finally recognize my purpose. What excites me, what disappoints me, what motivates me. That's all going to be a part of that space in the workforce.
Yeah, absolutely. And Hope, I know that you do some professional speaking as well. So I'm curious, as a professional speaker myself, what do you think is the key to authentically connecting with an audience?
Yeah, I had this conversation with my sister, and it is the story. Allowing people to see that you are okay with being vulnerable, not that it always feels good, but okay with being vulnerable and sharing and allowing them to see this is a space for empathy, or this is a space where we can connect, and to what you mentioned before, we actually can relate. Or I'm just human and I have all these things that I want to share with you. I would say that storytelling, to allow people to see what it is that you want them to see, and to allow people to see you as a human, as a person, um, is very important in public speaking.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got two questions left for you, Hope. And the first one, I'd be curious to ask you about an invested leader or an invested executive. It's one thing to tell a group of people a vision or a direction, but oftentimes today's employees can tell if upper management is invested or if they're just interested in getting through sort of the status quo of the day. So I'm curious to ask you about, how do you know whether your leader or boss is invested in the process of the whole team and just not the final result?
Yeah. I think, we all employees can see and hear, and if a leader is transparent. right? They're not. What would help is if the leader would be more vocal, visible, and actually engage or interact with their employees. Now, granted, employers don't always have the time because there's so many things going on. However, there are opportunities to take that moment to engage in that conversation, to drop a video, to drop an audio, to show up at the lunch table, not just buy your team lunch, but actually show up and have those types of conversations, which lets them know, in engaging with you that, okay, they are authentic, or they're really trying, even if it's, my leader has no idea what they're doing, but they're trying, which goes a long way. So being vocal, being visible, and engaging with your team is super, super duper important. And I'm sure you've seen the research that says, you know what, people stay because of their manager. If they leave because of their manager. So those are very important.
Yeah, and Hope, my final question for you is about legacy and how you want your legacy, both from a personal and professional standpoint, to be defined.
Yeah, my legacy. I want my legacy to be um, that I was intentional or am intentional. I don't want to say, well, it was too early. I am intentional, that I am kind, right? So anything that I do, I want it to be seen as intentional, kind, and that I absolutely enjoyed life because of that. Because I did things with intention, because I am a kind person, I absolutely enjoy. And that's kindness to myself, right? Not sweating the small stuff, not um, being stressed by what's happening with my business or with others' work, or I see the perspective, I'm being kind, I do something about it intentionally, I enjoy life.
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, Hope, tell me if people want to get connected with you and all the great work they can do, what's the best way they can do that? Or buy the books that you've written as well.
Yeah. So I am on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm on all those platforms. By the way, Instagram, if you want to get Monday, a magnificent Monday, then look me up on Instagram. I am Hope Lenor. That's my name. Oh, this side, that's my name. You can look me up. Also on LinkedIn. Sometimes I'll post those videos there. You can go to my website, which is riseandfly.net. So RISEANDF as in Frank, LY.net. So go to my website. It has all those social media icons that you can click on. My book, you can just look me up by name on Amazon and you'll find all of my books, Hope Lenor. Workday Catalyst is my last book that I published in 2020. It looks really thick, but what it is, it's actually maybe 3 sentences that gives you motivation before each workday, or it gives you a career tip before each day. So you just open the book, you read those 3 sentences to help you for that particular day. So there's a page for each workday. And then my first book, Rush, which was about my journey in acknowledging my professional purpose and how much is given to me and the excitement, the rush that I feel when I engage it. And my third book is actually my second one, 7 Women, 7 Words. I was asked to join 6 other women to write a book given 7 words. 7 words. We had to write a 2.5-page, I think, essay, a true story about each word. And I do drop some career tips in there as well when you see my name in those words. But it's really cool to see how, we all interpret that one word, whether it's shoes or her or any other word. It's pretty cool. So just Amazon, you can find me on Amazon by looking at my name.
Fantastic. Well, Hope is someone that's devoted my entire professional career to workplace diversification and equality. I really enjoyed this conversation. I want to commend you for the great work that you're doing to continue to move the needle of progress forward when it comes to workplace diversity and inclusion. And I want to thank you for engaging in conversation with me this afternoon. It's most appreciated.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it too. I totally enjoyed the conversation. Next time we should do coffee or tea or water with our conversation.
Yeah, it's important to stay hydrated, isn't it?
It is. It is.
And again, I want to thank you for your time and for being here. It's most appreciated.
Thank you, Kevin.
Hope, one question I didn't ask you during our formal interview was the whole concept about eliminating workplace discrimination and the steps that you believe will need to be taken in order to realize that goal and to eliminate it from all facets of an organizational culture.
Yeah. I do still think it's part of having the conversation. I love what you said earlier about asking the question, because now I wonder if that's a fear for the employer to ask the question. So there are conversations where it's, well, then I'll be in trouble if I ask the conversation or ask the question, or if I ask this, then that's rude or it's not politically correct, or if I ask. And so what I've told them, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I took ask the question, because some people are just appreciative that you tried to understand or to know by asking the question. And allow that person, if they want to say, well, you shouldn't have said this word. I understand, however, what you meant. And here's the answer to what you had to say, or what, your question was. But it does start with being bold enough to ask the question, right? So,
Well, you don't know what you don't ask, right?
yeah. Yeah.
I'd rather someone ask me about how they're going to accommodate my disability than not ask me, than assume if they ask me a question that I'll be offended. I'd rather them ask, and then we can start the conversation on the correct language to use. But if they don't ask, then you don't start any portion of a conversation, right? So
Right. Right. And I do believe too, so another part of my response to your question is not making assumptions. And I guess that goes with asking. So if you, even if you, see people and, oh, how's your day? My day's good. Okay, they must be fine. No, you've got to get to know them and ask more questions and not make the assumption that people are fine. Just if they have great results, they're fine. Don't make that assumption. There's a time to do a deeper dive into what they need, because some people like myself will just, when I was in the workplace, would just do what I could. I didn't want them to know that I had MS. I didn't want them to see that I was their description of a Black woman. I didn't want them to see that all of these microaggressions could take a toll. So the employer has to go deeper. But also on my part as an employee, I should have been vocal as well. So I guess both parties played to your point about getting rid of that negative part of the workplace. Everybody has to use their voice. Everybody has to do something. Some people don't want to or are designed to use their voice. That's okay, but there's another role that they can play, or metaphorically use their voice, show that this is not right and what can be done about it.